Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to talk about Attack on Titan, the final season, episodes 4 through 7. Let's get right into it. So we'll start with episode 4, Memories of the Future, or episode, I forget what episode it's called for, what number episode it is in the entire show.
I think that was the main thing that scared me from anime, from watching it, because I would see you watch it and it'd be like season 4, episode 84. I'm like, there's 84 episodes a season?
Yeah. Sub, dub.
It's not the case.
Yeah, but this was a fantastic episode, and we talked about parts of this episode on the podcast, just the character development you got of Grisha Yeager. This is a character that was only alive for one episode, but now we see how conflicted he actually was when Zeke takes Eren through this tour of his memories, that he wasn't so sure about his plan to kill the royal family, to take the founding Titan. And it was Eren who pushes him into doing that by manipulating him, by showing him these memories. And we get this revelation that the Attack Titan can see through past and future. I have to admit, it's confusing to try and piece it all together. But the amount of development you got for these three characters, because it is about the Yeager family here. It's about Zeke, Eren, and Grisha, and what they're all fighting for. Zeke is trying to tell Eren, you've been brainwashed by Grisha. He's planted the seeds of nationalism. But we see, it's like Kanye West. Eren's always been like this. He's always been ready to fight. He's always been someone who craves freedom. And I think the best line from this episode is, if someone tries to steal my freedom, I'll steal their freedom first. So you get everything you need to know about that character, and like I said, Zeke and Grisha as well.
Yeah, definitely like just the kind of just inter-family maneuvering in terms of like what their plan is going to be going forward, because we see Zeke have the upper hand going into this episode, but by the end of it, it's Eren saying, yeah, this was all me. And it's kind of puts you in that little paradox situation, like if Eren never went back and told Grisha and convinced him to kill the royal family, would it have ever happened, or what happened first? I'm done. I don't think about that stuff anymore. I just take it what it is, because then I lock myself in a mental pretzel. So, but yeah, Eren kind of just showing that he has the upper hand in this situation, and kind of these episodes, like especially like the flashbacks and kind of the going into the memories and opening up all this different type of what's possible in this world, I think is very well done. Like you said, it is a little bit tough to keep up at some points, but when you're watching it, you're just kind of, or reading it, you're kind of just like, what's going on here? And it's just so intriguing and written and done so well, and you really don't know where you're going to end up at the end of it and what it's for. And kind of, I think with Grisha, like it's a character that we've seen alive for one episode in the beginning, and the characterization that we've gotten through prior flashbacks, but especially in this one, has just been fantastic.
Yeah, because we saw the way he treated Zeke. He obviously pushes him to become a warrior candidate. Zeke was never athletic, never that talented, so he essentially abused his child. And then you see, well, Zeke sees it. It's more important for Zeke, the regret that Grisha has when they share that hug at the end when he apologizes to him. So I think Zeke gets a closure here that he thought he never would have. So he starts the episode as hating his father and obviously blaming him, and that's really the reason he fights, is because he's got these daddy issues. But now they're resolved at the end. But what Grisha tells him is so chilling when he says, from here on, things aren't going to go your way.
Yeah.
It's going to be Eren. And like you said, thinking about the past, the future, how it all ties together, it's difficult. But when Grisha's talking, he's talking to the air saying, why didn't you show me more? Why didn't you show me what happened to my wife? Why are you only showing me these selective memories? He's being tortured as well. He's being tortured like he tortured Zeke by Eren. And obviously that's become the biggest meme, I think, from this season, is that shot of Eren whispering to Zeke. A Bergman shot, really, actually, straight from Persona. So that was great to see. But yeah, that character, he becomes tragic. And with Zeke, when he sheds that tear at the end, this is a character that you hated for what he did to the scouts. He's been such a great villain. And now you're wondering, is he being set up to be the hero here? Where he loses his ideology of euthanizing all of Eldians in order to just stop Eren from destroying the world. Because that's objectively worse, right?
You
have to put a pin in your own plan to, if you euthanize all of Eldian and there's nobody else left in the world, you've basically just wiped out all life on the planet. So.
Well, that's like what I talked, like I said, like this show has been going on, like just one of the better runs in television history, like, or just storytelling history, and regardless, like the way they just, the characterization and the levels they dive into these characters, it's like, even with Gabby, someone who like a lot of fans didn't like in the beginning, and now I think I think she was awesome. Like with Zeke, like you just said, like you don't know who's right. If what should we be rooting for Zeke? You know, there's certain characters that once you meet, they could become by this time they're completely different and their thought processes are different, and you get a better idea of what their plans are. Like look at Aaron. I mean, I thought he was an antagonist since the beginning because he was just always an annoying prick to me, but now he's just like truly an antagonist, and I think he's a much better character now. Or just his character as a whole has just been his development throughout these 4 seasons has just been nothing less than incredible. So the Zeke Aaron dynamic, and like you said, just kind of getting like, not only was that development great for Grisha, but like it really was just more for them, seeing where they're coming from and how they were raised and the differences they were in the different lives they were brought up in.
Right, yeah. Zeke sees the new life that Grisha started with Aaron, with his new wife, with Mikasa, and obviously he feels some jealousy and resentment towards his father. This is the life that he never got. But like I said, they have that moment in the end where Grisha does apologize to him. And Zeke, you know, he's, for all these characters, I think throughout this season, we're getting more details into why they're fighting. And I think for characters like Armin and Mikasa, it's difficult for them to know. She fights for Aaron. Armin is looked at as a leader, and they're struggling with those roles. But then you look at a character like Aaron, where he's just so planted in what he wants to do. Zeke obviously was planted, and now he's been lifted a bit, so he has to choose his new path. But Grisha as well, what he was fighting for and how conflicted he was. And we see that in the further episodes with characters like Annie and other characters as well. Gabby, like you mentioned, now she's fighting for Falco. But that ending to this episode, when Aaron does make contact with Zeke, obviously all that was happening, they spent years in Grisha's memories, and then they get snapped right back into the present, and you see the spine, you see the founding titan come to life, and it is horrifying. That one shot of Mikasa and Armin just looking up at the you can't really make out what it is, but all you know is that it's disgusting.
It's not like a cool titan. I'd be upset.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
like,
really unsettling.
It's fucking awesome. Colossal, yeah. This is just gross.
It really is gross. And that's episode 5, From You 2,000 Years Ago is the title. And it begins in the coordinate when Aaron is so determined to stop Ymir from euthanizing all the Eldians that he rips off his own hand. And that wailing scream, that wasn't even a ferocious scream. That was just a psychopath scream. Somebody who is just indomitable will to get the job done. And then we learn the history of Ymir, who's been looked at as a god. And the subjects of Ymir, we can become titans because we share in her heritage. We share her blood. But her story is as tragic as anybody's story in the show, probably the most tragic.
Definitely. And it was cool, just like everything like removed, just seeing a different time within this, like, you know, going back to what like our world looked like thousands of years
felt like
ago.
That, like a primitive world,
so
tribes conquering each other.
Yeah, and I kind of like saw that as like we were kind of on the same path, and kind of the divergence because of the Titans caused them to be where they are now, and obviously where other society is. But like, yeah, like
they sold her out real quick.
Dude,
they were like, who let that pig out? They all pointed to her immediately. I am Spartacus. Nope, it was that girl. She's Spartacus.
None of us are Spartacus.
Never heard of him. I don't know that, man.
But yeah, I think like one of the things that is the hardest thing to do when you're having this big epic fantasy, and we've seen it time and time again, like Game of Thrones, trying to like, what is the answer to our questions that we have, right? And kind of this is like giving us a peek into the past of basically why everything is happening and how everything came to be. And I think, you know, that was done very well. They gave it its own time, really separate from anything except for the opening and ending scene, and really focused on that character and kind of how she became the founding Titan, or the first Titan, and how basically, you know, they allowed her bloodline to kind of keep going, and how they created the Eldians, and how that, like, I guess that legacy carried on until the present day. What they did to kind of inspire this hatred towards them, kind of just going into war, being like, all right, let's fight. Oh, yeah, by the way, Titan.
Yeah, like you said, it kind of halts the trajectory of humanity, because they established this empire for thousands of years, because they have this weapon of mass destruction that nobody can stand against.
So they go into, like, the Civil War with a machine gun. But like, not a machine gun, a tank. It's not fair. He's not standing a chance.
Or a T-Rex. But like you mentioned, with that moment where she's being chased, they're shooting the arrows in her, and she slips in that giant cave, and that creature from down below just merges with her and she becomes a Titan. I think that's
why I don't fuck with the ocean, man.
Right, I think that's a solid explanation. Yeah, without a doubt, because the ocean is so mysterious. It's where life started.
That's why we haven't explored most of the ocean, because people are afraid of getting turned into Titans.
Yeah, there's a fear of being turned into a Titan. And, the line where Aaron says, "You're not a slave, you're not a god, you're just a person," that really did hit home, because she just was this young girl who is chosen because of nothing, because of chance. And then King Fritz builds an empire on her back, obviously has her have his children, and then he feeds the bodies, he feeds her body after she is killed to these children so that they can continue her power and continue this lineage. Yeah, it's just such an unsettling origin, and that's, like you said, with real history, when you look at royal families, when you look at people in positions of power, how did they get there? They killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
They did a lot of bad things. So that's where the Eldian Empire started, just like most empires. So all of that was, like you said, seeing a different time, getting the origin. Sometimes that can really upset fans because it could be stupid. Where did this power come from? But it still keeps it mysterious in a way, even though we see the moment when she became that first Titan.
Right. It didn't it was pretty much... she gets this thing attaches to her and she's able to become a Titan. That's pretty much it. It's not like they didn't deep dive into how, where did that thing come from or how that thing came to be, which that leaves some of the mystery there. And her life is just sucked. She's never had her living life was just basically used as she was either a slave or a killing machine, and then now she's stuck in a coordinate for all these years where basically time doesn't exist, where she's looks like she was molding the Titans and things of like that, the other ones that we've seen today. And yeah, you kind of just feel terrible for that character,
right? And Aaron kind of paints himself as a savior here,
right? And that's obviously Aaron's being selfish in this moment because he wants to get what he gets, but yeah, he's kind of...
Yeah, but it's you saved this slave girl. You've finally freed her. That's nice. What are you going to do after that? Oh, wait, no, go back.
Remember what you did? All that? I'm going to do something much worse.
And, it's like... With Ymir, she is just a person. So, like I mentioned, all these characters are fighting for something. She was never fighting for anything. She was always being told what to do. So now Aaron, in a way, is setting her free. And she gives her power over to Aaron because that saves her. So at the end of the day, I don't think Ymir gives a fuck what's going on in the actual world. But we get the commentary from Armin where he thinks, oh, Aaron's going to raise all these Titans and he's going to go destroy the military conference. Wait a minute, he just destroyed the other wall? Wait, he destroyed the other wall? Hold on a second. I feel bad for Armin.
Dude, he always doubts himself. I'm just...
Well, I think with Armin,
confidence, King.
In the past, he was always so good at seeing through the lines, at being able to predict what the enemy was going to do or what his allies... Yeah, he's blinded by friendship.
Yeah.
He believes too much in Aaron and what Aaron is going to do, and at this point, it's...
Mikasa's still trying to figure out if she has free will.
And she's trying to find her scarf. It's God damn, it's cold. And do I have free will?
Well, yeah, all of them are going to separate from the main situation are just completely in shambles.
It's so exhausting to watch at this point.
So you see, I saw one, it was Gene season 1 till now. He's so happy, and now he's just depressed in his hands.
Well, when Flock tells him you could finally rest, you could have your cushy life, and he says, "Is it over?" It's obviously not. There's some more story to go here, but just the relief of thinking that maybe for a moment I could be done fighting, but obviously they have that back and forth where they're talking about, should we even stop Aaron? Because if he goes along with this plan, we will technically be free. And then Armin says, well, it's going to be genocide on an unprecedented scale. But that speech by Aaron was terrifying.
Yeah, I think when he brought all the Eldians into...
The memes were hilarious too.
I didn't see any.
Yeah, somebody on the toilet.
But yeah, that was seeing the different people's reactions to getting that information and not really knowing what the fuck is going on. They're whoa, what just happened? And then kind of wait, did Aaron just say he's going to destroy the whole world?
Right, and it's, there's an element of the chickens coming home to roost. That's how John rationalizes it, saying that if they didn't put us on this island, if they didn't consider us devils, this never would have happened. But the world, the war, the fighting has become so messy. It's almost obvious now that this is where it was all heading. That there was no way to end this without bringing out all those colossal Titans. And attempting to destroy the world. And at this point, it seems like Aaron will be unstoppable. But, a character like Gabby, like you said, she's had so much development throughout season 4, only being introduced in one season. She's almost become the new Aaron when she ties back her hair and she's determined to save Falco. She's not going to give up on trying to stop
She's
Aaron.
like a cooler Aaron.
Yeah, she is.
She doesn't want to commit genocide. And for me, that I think that's kind of cool. But
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that side.
Okay.
I wanted to just get that out there.
Yeah. We're very anti-genocide.
Anti-genocide on this podcast.
I think one of the most chilling things throughout these past episodes is like just the rumbling happening in the background. But no one they acknowledge it, but it's just there. And they're just talking like, what the fuck do we do? Like, what's going on? And they're not paying any attention to them. They're just going and marching forward, and it's just happening.
Yeah, and they even mentioned in the latest episode that thousands of people died when those walls fell, and that those were the sacrifices they needed to make to win this fight. But like Gabby said, Aaron could have just taken the Titans that he needed, destroyed some military bases, and call it a day. But Aaron sees only one endgame here. But like we mentioned with Gabby, I think she has a great moment with Kaya. That was such a great action moment. And then Kaya basically forgives her. It took Gabby saving her life to forgive her, but I think it's a nice moment that they share when she says, "Oh, Gabby's a weird name. I liked Mia better." And like you said, Gabby has come so far, or like we've said, Gabby has come so far, so to now see her as a hero. But she obviously still needs to save Falco, who's being taken off by Connie to be fed to Connie's mother. Once again, characters, what are they fighting for? Mm-hmm. So Connie's whole thing is, one day I want to save my mother, who I've been going back to visit for 4 years. But then you get that flashback where it was his mother who inspired him to be such a good soldier, who told him, you need to go out there and help people. That needs to be your goal.
I mean, it kind of brings me back to they even mentioned it in one of these episodes of the Armin, Commander Irwin situation, where they had to choose who to feed and give, basically make them live, so they could become a Titan but still be alive, and kind of the dilemma that caused them, and what was the right choice and who to do it for. Back then it was more, you could argue that Armin obviously is a capable leader and strategist and brain behind the operation, but when you really do look at it, Commander Irwin probably was the better choice, just in terms of military strategy and who's the best to lead us into this upcoming war. And obviously now with this situation, it's kind of the same thing, where Connie's, he's not being objective. He wants to do it to his mom because he has that personal relationship, the same way they chose to choose Armin, because they had a personal relationship with him.
Right. In the moment, I thought Armin was the right choice to make, and I guess it's because he's young. He's one of the main protagonists, but it was a mistake. They should have brought back Irwin. It's obviously too late now, but I love that the writer did that, where the characters did make this massive mistake, and you have that moment where Mikasa says, what are we going to do about Eren? And Armin breaks down. He says, we have to worry about this, we have to worry about that, we have to worry, and you're worried about Eren? And then he realizes, oh, that's the job that being a commander is you have to balance all of these incredibly complex storylines within war, and that's something that Irwin was so good at. And maybe Irwin doesn't let it get to a point, because like I mentioned, I think the writing is on the wall here. You can try and stop this, but it's like they say in Blade Runner, you're trying to hold back a monsoon with a broom. So, yeah, I feel bad for Armin, and I feel bad for Mikasa, because they're seeing someone that they believed in go off and become Adolf Hitler. Yeah. And they're really basically helpless.
They don't have a Churchill.
No, they're Churchill, yeah. Maybe Flock? Oh, no, wait, Flock is he's a Jaeger.
Yeah.
We see them face off against their former comrades, one of them being General Pixies, and Armin has that moment. He has the flashbacks of everything Pixies did to help them, and he was such a fatherly figure to them. He was, the kind of a cheeky commander in a military full of all these hard asses. So that was sad to see. But it's always awesome to see these guys face off against Titans. It's amazing how far they've come with their weaponry, how lethal they are now against Titans.
I liked how they didn't have, they went back to the old ODM gear and everything, run it back a little, put the throwback unis on.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a tough moment. Obviously he's I think Armin says he's finally allowing him to rest, and it's the situation of every zombie movie where your friend or family gets turned into a zombie and you don't want to kill them, but then you realize they're a zombie, so they're not really alive anymore. But it's a tough situation, and I think like that was another situation on who to feed the cart to, no, not the cart, the jaw to, and obviously that was given to Falco, and that's another decision. Like, you could have allocated that Titan to somebody more useful, but again, personal relationships and to a degree selfishness played a part into those decisions.
It's so
Never
hard
the cart, not my girl Peak.
No, Car Titan's still going strong, and she has that scene in the end with Hanji and Levi, so maybe some relationships are being formed here. Little resistance team. But going back to the beginning of that episode, it starts off with Hitch, and she's treating soldiers in the Tross district, and she mentions to Annie later in the episode that the only job she's had to do over these last couple of years is just clean up after all the Titans, clean up all the death and destruction. And you see the civilians are split as well. We mentioned that the wall came down and it did kill the Eldians, but some people consider that a necessary sacrifice.
Right.
But when Aaron brought down that wall, he also freed Annie. The hardening softened. Annie gets the drop on Hitch, and Hitch, you can't play around when one of those Titans has their hand cut. She says, I don't even know if you're strong enough. Well, that's a chance you're going to have to fucking take, and it changes her mind, dude, when you can't fuck around with the WMD, a walking WMD.
No, yeah, she did the right thing.
No, she definitely did. And like with many characters throughout this season, we get more backstory into Annie and why she is fighting. And once again, it's a single episode, and they managed to pack in so much characterization for the relationship that she had with her stepfather, who adopts her after she was abandoned, and like Grisha, trains her to be a fighter, trains her to be a warrior candidate so that one day he can have a better life. And as soon as she set off to finally fight as a warrior candidate, he breaks down and regrets everything. So her determination is get back to my father, the man I now consider to be my father, by any cost necessary.
What a personal hell that must be, to be stuck motionless, but you can hear people you're basically their therapist but like your mate, like you can't do anything about it.
No, you're just there to listen.
Armin,
no advice.
Imagine Armin sitting down there for hours just contemplating every decision he's ever made for the past just 2 hours.
Yeah, just end me, please.
Yeah, just having to listen to that is just that's torture. She probably knows more about the situation than a lot of people. But yeah, that was
But she also had so much time to reflect, I guess, on all the death and destruction. So she mentioned that she didn't really feel anything she didn't think that life had any meaning, even her own. Obviously, it was the moment when her father breaks down that helps her realize, life does have meaning because I want to get back and continue my life. But also, Gabby has always been this character who's felt very numb to everything going around her. Just her facial expressions, just the way that she carries herself. So to get this opening up was nice. And Hitch obviously thanks her for letting her in on these details. Maybe I won't try and kill you now. Maybe we can be friends type of situation.
Yeah, no, with Annie, it's something that, we've seen a lot with the warrior candidates coming over and, kind of remember that whole reveal, and we found out who they actually are and all that. And at the time, it's definitely a little jarring, but as the seasons progress and you see the situation they came from and what they were trying to do and what they believe in, especially with characters like Reiner, you get the idea oh, yeah, it's kind of just the same thing but flipped, and they really don't know the extent of what's happening either, because it is a lot to do with brainwashing or being trained a certain way and being led to believe a certain thing that has put them in this situation where they are now. And yeah, that relationship that we've seen her develop with her now father, it was nice. I mean, he's still kind of a dick, I don't think
But I think the show has done that a lot, that characters have committed these sins in the past, but that doesn't mean that they can't change or that they can't grow or they can't feel regret for what they did. They're not total monsters. And the show has obviously made a point of showing how dangerous propaganda can be, calling them the Eldian devils and saying that they're coming to destroy the world, and look where that's led them. So this idea that someone is totally a monster or just totally whole or totally holy is ridiculous. There's gray in all characters, and something that we've seen obviously in many, many shows, but the way that this show does it in limited amount of time, like I said, it's genius.
Yeah. And I love the scene, too, with the Marleyan soldiers having the Eldians at gunpoint, because they were able to be, because since they have the Eldian, they are Eldian, they were able to hear Aaron and them trying to convince the guards, like, listen.
Oh yeah, that was a tough scene to watch.
Yeah,
we know what's coming, and still they won't listen to them.
Right.
They think it's some elaborate scheme for them to escape. Yeah, it's sad because they're victims. It's the meme. You're a victim. That's
the thing too. It's like, oh yeah, well maybe Marley's right. You're gonna stop Aaron. And it's like, oh yeah, but Marley was literally, they're fucking Nazis. So you definitely don't want them to do anything to win. So it's like...
But dude, talk about... I don't want to call everyone a Nazi, but that scene with Flock when he executes one of Yelena's men.
Yeah.
Talk about a man mad with power. When John says, who made you king around here? He's, well, Aaron did.
Yeah.
I'm basically Aaron's mouthpiece. So
see that big, gross, disgusting thing? He did.
I'm his number one. I'm his first in command here. So yeah, that was brutal.
I feel like he thinks him and Aaron are better friends than they actually are, though.
But yeah, Aaron probably doesn't even remember his name. He's like, Locke, right?
Yeah.
You're my guy, Locke. My number one. All right. Yeah, the gunshots, to shoot somebody in the head and then to shoot them 2 more times, that just always gets me. It's like Sonny in The Godfather. You killed the guy 10 minutes ago and you're still unloading a machine gun. So
yeah, a little overkill. You gotta send a message, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's about sending a message. But the one shot where Elena's got her, she's totally defeated, sitting in the chair. All her men are behind her, and even the moment John has with Onyankopon, when Onyankopon realizes my home world is about to be destroyed, and Flock tells them all, your dream of reviving your homelands is dead. So we'll accept you as Eldians, or we'll kill you. So it's like the making of a fascist nation.
And I wonder if it's going to be the same thing where, like, oh yeah, we'll accept you as Eldians, but like, is it in the same vein as Marleyans accepting the Eldians as honorary Marleyans? Like, are they even offering them actual freedom? And, like going back to like what we talked about with, choosing who should inherit this Titan, or should they just keep it with Falco? And obviously, I mean, Armin's going to try to do his best to convince Connie not to feed it to his mother. Because honestly, your mom's kind of useless. Sorry to break it to you, bud.
Right, yeah. She's been in this Titan form for 4 years. You're gonna give her this immense power. She has to fight. What, are you going to just keep her at home? There's still fighting to be had. Well, we don't know. But, I imagine Connie isn't going to feed Falco to his mother. It's going to be his greatest test.
Yeah.
So Falco is a character who I think he's got some things to do. You don't just give somebody a Titan power and they never become a Titan or do anything with that power. So, Gabby feels like she owes her life to Falco in many ways because he was right on the money from the beginning. He was able to see things so clearly. It's an idea I'm always fascinated about in anime, that children are the ones who are able to see past the black and white of the world. Mm-hmm. And Falco is, even when he's talking to Connie and thanking him and saying, you're a great man. So he's always been just such a wholesome little guy, and now he's probably gonna kick some ass.
I had to chuckle a little when they're going into his inner thoughts. He's like, "Wow, what a great guy he is."
He's so naive. Yeah, he had no idea what this man's about to do. He's taking me to the hospital because I have amnesia.
He's the best.
Oh, that's good stuff.
I was like, "Yeah, I'm about to feed you to my mom, stupid kid."
Yeah, but like we mentioned, Armin and Mikasa, they have that moment, and I think for those two characters, there's just no easy answers here. Like I said, Armin was a character, it always felt like when the pressure was on, he would come up with a plan. But now there's just not one size-fits-all type of plan. It's not like the battle against the Beast Titan where he realizes the Titans, they're hiding in the walls because the walls are hollow. There's no easy answer here.
Yeah.
So for Armin and Mikasa, you're just worried about where their heads are at. And where they're going to, what they're going to end up doing in order to try and stop their friend, or if they're going to side with Eren in a way. Maybe I can't see that happening, but it's going to be interesting to see how those two characters end their arcs.
Yeah, from here on, it's just going to be all out fucking bonkers. And I think it already has been. I think, like, so far this season, the way to start it up reminds me a lot of Breaking Bad, obviously, both having the final season cut into 2 parts, but just coming out of the gate so strong in part 2 and setting everything up for what's about to be, like, fucking, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it.
I think people need to realize that the action is going to be some of the best of the series, some of the best of the anime. There are so many different moments that I can't wait to see happen in animation. So I'm so excited for the next episode, and obviously we will get into that next week. But I think this is a good place to end this review. It's a lot of information, a lot of stuff to talk about. It's such a chaotic world, and it's been a chaotic season, but it's so fun to watch.
Levi needs to go in like a bathtub tank or something.
Yeah, he needs a vacation with Boba. He definitely does.
He's seen better days, but still kicking.
All these characters just need a 10-day nap.
As Armin said, he's like, I don't sleep.
No, they need back to tanks. All right, guys, we will be back next week for more Attack on Titan. Thank you for joining us. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. No spoilers for you manga readers. And yeah, or else we'll kill you. With kindness.
And a Titan.